Next up, we have Thejas Komarla, President of Australia and New Zealand at Prezzee, one of the fastest growing digital gifting platforms in the world. Now, with more than 15 years in retail, sales and marketing, TJ has helped shape Prezzee into a market leader in the digital gifting space, driving innovation, connection and recognition across teams and customers alike. In this session, we're going to talk about how recognition drives the right behaviours. We're going to explore how recognition can become a cultural superpower, aligning people to purpose and reinforcing values and shaping high-performing, values-driven organisations. So it might be a little early in the morning for red wine, but we can stick some marshmallows on for this fireside chat. But please welcome TJ Komarla.
Hey Ryan.
How are you doing?
That's quite the introduction. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh yeah, pressure now. You've got to live up to expectations now, TJ. Yeah, we're going to talk about lots of things about recognition. So for those listening, you're in for a treat because TJ definitely knows what he's talking about here. Having spent a lot of time on the topic. I thought I'd start with a nice, easy, simple warm-up question for you here by the fireside.
Thank you.
And talk a little bit about Prezzee, because you've grown rapidly, and I know that because I was an early adopter. I started using Prezzee in a previous role 7 or 8 years ago. We were chatting the other day about how we actually spoke then, which is amazing. We've known each other for quite a while. You've grown rapidly. What kind of workplace culture have you aimed to build along the way?
Oh, look, great question. Look, and like you rightly pointed out, our growth as a business has been incredibly exciting. And personally, I've had the privilege of seeing this business grow from a 3-person startup to a global company that it is today. So people have always been at the heart of our business. And as it comes to culture, early stages from our co-founders, it's always been about bringing people that are willing to share ideas, don't be scared of anything, and creating this culture of openness, someone coming in every day feeling valued and wanting to really come in and deliver something great. And in the early days when we were a smaller company, every single person was probably involved in every single business idea. It gave this sense of belongingness. People came in knowing that they were driving real impact. We had people coming in from large corporates to a smaller startup, and they knew that every word they said meant something. And I think that brought a really good sense of belongingness and a really good culture within our business. As we've grown as a company, we've obviously had to evolve how we bring culture into our everyday business. And one of the key things we've done is move to a very values-driven culture ecosystem, which is high energy and making sure people come in every single day to deliver great magic, I guess, in the way we do things. And I personally think Prezzee's culture has been very unique, and you can ask a lot of people that have been in the business and have come and gone. And one of the key things they will remember is, hey, that business was unique in its way. They actually managed people and recognized people and ran the whole show. So that's sort of how we've grown it.
Amazing. That sounds like you're in the business of magic then, hey, in your own words. So where does recognition fit into that, and what does meaningful recognition look like at Prezzee?
Yeah, awesome. Look, so for us, recognition at Prezzee has definitely been woven into our ways of working, from Buzz, which is our peer-to-peer recognition platform, to our people town halls that we have, to everyday shout outs. It's all about creating meaningful moments where people feel genuinely seen and not just rewarded. I think that is very, very important. End of the day, we're all humans trying to do amazing things, and you got to feel good up here to do good as well. So I think that's one of the big things. We also celebrate things like your Prezzee anniversary or Prezzeeversary, birthdays and a day off on your birthday, weddings within the business or births within the business. And again, like, it's all about making these small personal touches that make people feel really valued, I think, is the key. and like personalization for me is such a really big part. Managers have the autonomy, almost like a toolkit, to choose how they want to make their people feel valued. It's one size fits all, doesn't work for everyone. Someone may like a very silent shout out. Someone may prefer to be taken out for lunch. You may want to create this culture of recognition by just surprise and delight, by just shouting coffees for your team or doing something like that. So it's like top down, bottom up. How do we make everyone feel really good within the process is part of our DNA.
Amazing. I think talking about the autonomy and giving leaders the autonomy, or having people experience recognition differently, is really important. Or in one of the earlier presentations, we're chatting about how recognition, or there's a recognition program in almost every organization, yet only 43% of people actually feel recognized. And I think sometimes that's because there's some real stringent ways in how you could recognize people, and there isn't that autonomy or flexibility around it. I'm wondering, from your perspective, that you get to see how lots of different companies are applying recognition in what they do, or gift giving. Have you seen a shift in expectations around recognition over the past few years?
Yeah, look, I think, like I mentioned before, people expect authentic recognition. It's no longer just a process. You got to make it personal. And I think one of the biggest shifts that we are seeing is a lot of value being placed on peer-to-peer recognition rather than just leaders. I think that's really a big one in this whole process. I think, you feel value. If your colleague values you, then you feel like you're doing something great, where you're also inspiring your colleague as well in the process. So I think that whole peer-to-peer recognition has probably one of the biggest shifts that we are seeing in this space.
Fantastic. Excellent. So is there any specific behaviors you try to encourage through your recognition efforts? Or broadly, do you see any trends around this about what people are using?
Look, for us as a business, like I said, we've evolved from a small startup to a global business, and we had to really evolve the way we ensure whatever we do within our business drives the right outcomes for our people, but also make it simple, right? So our focus has been on very value-led behaviors. We've got 5 key values within our business that drive some incredible outcomes. The 5 values, one being give magic, give a damn, give greatness, give ingenuity, and give openness. They're super simple. They mean something. People apply this in their everyday work that they do, and it's easy to understand, right? We also want people to feel comfortable giving great feedback, and I think it's a muscle that we want to really help everyone to strengthen, because feedback itself is another form of recognition, and we create this really good culture of making sure it's end of the day, like I said, a very genuine human conversation with 2 people that can really build something very, very powerful. So that's sort of how we run it.
Amazing. I mean, sometimes it can be really small. I went on I studied gamification for a few years, and I was really into the crux of recognition and what created kind of behavior change in people. And we studied various different leaders. And one of the things that we noticed were leaders who said hello more often to their people in the morning had higher scores when it came to appreciation and recognition from their people, which was amazing, right? Because that's some of the hello, which goes back to your point there about the kind of humanistic kind of nature of recognition and what some people's preferences are. And I suppose that's a baseline type of thing, saying hello to someone is saying I see you and I recognize you. I wonder if are there any other examples from your world, or what you've heard from clients using Prezzee or whatnot, where a small reward or recognition moment has had that bigger than expected ripple effect?
Yeah, so look, I'll probably give you our own example, right? We have an in-house recognition program called Prezzee Buzz. It was created as part of a hackathon, and it's tied to our values framework that I mentioned before. And the greatest thing that's happened is when people see behaviors being celebrated, it sets the tone for everyone else, right? I'll give you an example. When someone's recognized for the value of give ingenuity, because someone simply automated a manual task and they tried a bold idea, and everyone else around them are recognizing it, it fosters this curiosity of, oh wow, okay, that's been appreciated, maybe I should also try and do something where I can get this unique recognition from peers. And because our whole recognition platform that we have built is very public, it's instant, it's viewed by everyone across the globe, people across the teams are also recognizing for efforts. It creates this curiosity of, hey, why did they get recognized? Let me go and find out, why are everybody giving this person these buzz points, or Bs as we call them internally? So it creates this curiosity and this really good domino effect of where everyone's looking out for what's the nice new thing that's happening. And yeah, that's kind of how we've seen it work really well within our world.
Amazing. So you get your own kind of point system as well there. You get kind of buzz points and stuff. How did you come up with that? That's interesting.
Yeah, look, I think we had to find a way to make it super simple and easy to recognize. And we had to make it as part of our everyday ecosystem, because if it is something that's done once a month or once a quarter, it's like another task that someone needs to do. So we had to find a way where it's part of, and look, a recognition is only successful if it's simple, right? And it's got to be simple for every level. So we figured that Slack is a tool that we use every day for our peer-to-peer communication. If we were to find something that can make it easy to recognize people through a simple recognition channel on Slack, it kind of would do the trick, and it actually has done wonders for us. So we kind of built this ecosystem of being able to give points in Slack, and it's worked really well. So I'll touch on a few things in a bit.
Amazing. Excellent. So you created your own economy around this, own internal economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also made it visible too, which I think is important. When others see others doing it, it kind of can create that ripple effect. Yeah, that's excellent. So big question here, and this is the one I wanted to jump in with first. So I've warmed you up to answer this big question. How do you think recognition ties into performance or productivity?
Yeah, look, recognition, in my view, directly impacts performance. And like I said before, if you feel good mentally, you do good naturally, right? We've also seen that teams that recognize each other tend to have a very high engagement and a very low turnover, right? When people feel seen for what they contribute, they're more likely to go the extra mile. And I think that is super important to note, is when recognition is tied to the values and outcomes, and it feels like everyone's aligned to what we want to see from a good outcome. You can't really put a price on how this is all going to play out, because I think if you, like I said, like you feel good, you're just going to come, give your best, or you give your 100%, and suddenly something else is really fueling what you want to do within your work world. It has a massive performance index in terms of how we drive people.
I can say I've seen this one happen, personally. Not just, I think everyone knows inherently that when you give someone good feedback or when you give them recognition, you kind of watch their face change.
Yes.
I'll say to you right now, TJ, we're almost halfway through this, and you're doing an incredible job, mate. Like, this is you're fantastic to interview. What a pleasure you are to interview. It's when you give recognition.
You're making me feel so good right now.
Exactly. But when it comes to performance as well, and I know organizations that are that way inclined, they'll measure everything. I was involved in one of those organizations, and we had a recognition program and platform that we built ourselves. We use Prezzee, as a matter of fact, to help distribute gifts and give recognition. And we measured the impact of it. So we had to look at what the overall impact was in the departments that were doing it most often, and then what the individual impact was in terms of were those who gave or those who received recognition performing higher than they were before. And
that's fantastic.
Every time we ran the study, it showed the same thing. Those who received more recognition had higher satisfaction scores with their customers, were absent less. They also turned over less frequently, and higher engagement scores. So it was like, why that why the hell are we not recognizing everyone left, right, and center? Because it not only makes people feel good and you can see that it makes a difference in people's body language and attitude, but it directly ties to performance and productivity. One of the biggest challenges, though, this is, and I'm sure you've kind of heard this frequently, is, many companies struggle to recognize dispersed or frontline workers. It's kind of easy to rock up to someone in the office and say, "Here you go, here's a gift card." But how can we make sure that those people feel seen and valued?
Yeah, no, great. Really, really good question, and definitely a challenge within a lot of businesses, right? And look, including ours. So one of the key things, I guess, as a business we did was we've created this global recognition platform called Magic Makers Award, right? And again, the theme of magic is going to come up a few times, but the idea here being that offshore team members could also be recognized in a very public forum where global teams could recognize someone who's working in the Philippines or someone who's working in the States or somewhere else where they are not in front of each other, but they have had interaction that has had an impact in their ways of working, or they've had an impact on a customer experience. So they've done something amazing. And that's sort of how, this whole Magic Makers Award scenario came about. And we also tailor incentives based on the employee's location, and, try and make it as localized and as easy to recognize irrespective of where someone is located.
Excellent. Brilliant. So you've given it a lot of thought then.
Definitely. Yeah. It's definitely not been easy though. Yeah. It's definitely not been easy, but look, we understand. We can't do the same things for everyone. And like you rightly said, you can go and tap someone on the shoulder. You can take someone out for a coffee when you see them in person, but you can't do the same thing if someone's remote. So we had to figure out a way where we can try and make them also feel valued in our everyday ecosystem.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, I think you're clearly walking the talk, which is great to see. There's lots of other service providers out there who are great at talking the talk, but internally they're not great at using their own product. You clearly are, and get the 100%. Whole ethos behind it. That's amazing. Yes. So what role do you think? And you kind of touched on this, so I kind of know what you're going to say, I think, a little bit, but maybe you could tell me how the role that simplicity or ease of access plays in making recognition successful.
Look, like I said before, it plays a very, very big part, right? You got to make recognition super simple and easy. Like I mentioned, we use our own bespoke ecosystem called Prezzee, which is a reward stack that's integrated into Slack. Each employee gets 3 points to give away each day. So it's not like unlimited, you're valued, right? So there is a limit on how much you can recognize. And so you think about, hey, who do I want to recognize every day? You accumulate these points and then you can redeem them through Slack itself for a gift card. And we are a gifting business. So we understand that instant gratification is the key to success. It's not about recognizing someone in 30 days or that delayed gratification loses the value. So this whole instant loop, making it easy, making it simple, making it easy for anyone to understand, but also tying it into our values of our company. So the terminology of our values are being used every single day. Things like, hey, I had a great conversation with the manager. He was very honest and open about the things we spoke about. Perfect. I'll go on Slack, say, hey, thanks, XYZ. We had a great conversation. #give openness, right? So suddenly it's like validating that the conversation that was just had felt genuine. There's this really good feedback loop that happens, and it's public as well. So everyone's seeing this. No one's hiding anything. And it overall is just creating this really easy atmosphere that makes rewarding easy. I feel like if you make it complex, if someone has got to log into another platform, has to sign into something else to do something and submit and approve, and it just becomes very hard. I think simplicity is going to be the key to make it very successful.
Amazing. Excellent. And it seems that you've given it a lot of thought in terms of how do you use recognition to reinforce the things that you want to see at work. And I think, sometimes recognition could be a blanket term, just, going to allow people to recognize each other, but without that careful consideration, you don't see it used in the right way. Another thing, maybe we talk about maybe the return on investment, or kind of making the case for recognition, because I know a lot of HR leaders believe in recognition, but sometimes it's convincing others to see the value is really the challenge. And senior leaders often ask, what is the ROI? What is the ROI of recognition? How do you help HR leaders answer that?
We love this question because we get asked this every time. It's like, because we're trying to help them recognize, they're like, hey, what's the value behind this, right? Look, in my view, it's priceless. You can't really put a value on it, right? When you get it right, when people feel valued and when they see the work they do, they matter, you automatically increase engagement. You reduce attrition, which is big. You remove the whole concept of quiet quitting, right? And you drive performance. And overall, all of this reduces recruitment costs, right? So you create a team, you create IP, people are working well together. It drives a really good momentum for what we're trying to build. And we've seen this firsthand within Prezzee. And everyone were part of the journey, and you see a lot of people stick around with us for a long, long time. So yeah, like you can't really put a value on it. It is pretty phenomenal.
Amazing. I think anyone taking notes today can just scribble down a few of those. You've got yourself a business case to go and take to your execs and say, we need to do this, and this is why. But have you just, interestingly, have you measured any or observed any outcomes at Prezzee that you can pin back to recognition or the concept of giving? Is there any?
No, absolutely. Look,
what you noticed?
We've seen definitely a measurable impact from recognition at Prezzee. When peers take the time to recognize one another, it strengthens team bond. And one of the things we've seen from our engagement data is the statement, "I feel part of the team," is one of the things we ask. And that itself has grown 10 points since we've launched, right? Showing that recognition is really helping people feel more valued, included, and a sense of belongingness. It also reinforces, some of our values, like, I said, Buzz is built around a whole concept of magic makers and things like that. We've seen like a 24-point jump even in something like that, where we've created a concept and employees agreeing that our values mean something. They can recognize them, they can implement them in their everyday ways of working. And I think that whole recognition is clearly driving connection and alignment beyond the things that we ultimately feel is lifting engagement and performance. So we've definitely measured and seen things improve based on certain outcomes that we've put in place.
Amazing. Doesn't just feel good, but you've seen change happen as well.
Yes. Right. For sure.
Amazing. So I know your neck is going to crank when I say this, because mine does as well. But there are those, maybe I'd say sometimes CFOs or COOs that maybe have a bit more scrutiny when it comes to doing things in the people space. Sure, I'm speaking for a few HR leaders that have seen that before. And they might describe recognition like they do other, be HR or people or culture stuff, as a soft initiative. What would you say then to a CFO or a COO who sees recognition in that way?
Look, this is one that's definitely gonna feel good, right? So recognition is one of the strongest performance levers we have, to be honest. Like, recognition isn't soft, it's strategic, right? When people feel valued, engagement rises, collaboration improves, turnover drops, right? We've seen this in our own data, that recognition drives measurable business outcomes through people. And I think that is super important. To my previous points around, building this atmosphere for teams to work together, collaborate, innovate, drive great things, if people have the sense of belonging within a business, they're going to come and do incredible things without you asking them to do incredible things. It's no longer a job, it becomes a passion. And when that happens, you've actually won by a mile.
That'd be music to a lot of CFOs' ears. If you can win by a mile, that's a measurable outcome. That mile, or yeah, whatever the conversion is, the conversion rate from miles to kilometers. So I wanted to ask you, what's one habit or ritual that Prezzee has that you think others should steal? Because I mean, I imagine when you're talking with people and engaging with other leaders and HR leaders, they're going to look at you and how you use not just the software that you have and the kind of concept around gift giving, but how you adopt, recognition as a bit of a company ethos, and how that plays out. So I'm going to assume that they want to peek behind the fence a little bit and say, well, how are you using it? What are you doing? What's one thing that, you think others should steal?
No, of course. Look, I'll give you a couple of things, right? And one big one being, I think we have an incredible team that's built this whole concept of recognition within Prezzee. And we have a people-only town hall where it's 30 minutes dedicated to people and recognizing people. It's global, and it's all about people. It's not about the business. It's nothing else but people. And I think that is super important. And it has definitely played a very big part where we talk about the people that make the business. And I think that is a really big segment for us. The other one, again, our values, making it easy to use in the everyday workings, and making it easy to understand has played a big impact. People live by these values almost every day, and that's made it very easy. And because we've then tied these values into a whole concept of recognition, it kind of closes the loop on the whole concept of recognition. And we also make the value of the recognition easy to redeem, right? We thrive on instant gratification. We tell people that giving things in real time is probably the most important thing that we want to do. So, people earning points, but being able to redeem those points instantly today for something that means something to me right now is the most important impact that we have. And, as a digital gifting business, we deliver on that to our own employees, and it's working fantastic for them.
Amazing. Excellent. All right. Well, plenty of ideas that you can steal then throughout this session. TJ's mentioned quite a few, so I hope you've been taking notes. Now, if you've got any questions for TJ, please pop them into the comments. We might have time for one or two. Right now, we're going to move to our quick fire round. But yeah, if you're listening, watching, wherever you're from, I know we've got people joining from all over the place, our website and StreamYard and YouTube, and I think LinkedIn Live too. If you've got a comment feature, fling a question in there. We might be able to get to it. But I'm going to close now with a quick fire round with you, TJ, if you're happy with me throwing out some
absolutely.
quick fire questions for this fireside chat. Fire is the theme, of course. But yeah, I'm going to ask about your preferences. Right, so would you prefer a handwritten note or a shout out in a meeting?
I reckon shout out in a meeting definitely has a bigger impact. It's a solid feel good.
Amazing, excellent. My face goes absolutely scarlet red, and when that happens, and I have to put my face down to get this Celtic skin that's very impressionable. The public praise going red right now, as a matter of fact. Which leads to the next one: private or public recognition.
Look, public recognition is key. I think if you make someone feel good in a bunch of people, like you said, your face does go red, but then the applause you get, the back taps and all of that stuff, it's such a good feel.
Excellent. Best surprise reward you've seen?
Look, I think any customer care ecosystem where you expect the unexpected, where you go in knowing that the outcome may not be the way you want, and it happens. I think any such scenarios are brilliant in general.
One thing to stop doing in recognition programs?
This is super simple, but don't stop making it overly complicated, right? The harder it gets to understand and how to reward and recognize, the lesser adoption you're going to have. So keep it simple.
One thing to start.
I would say start recognizing. Big or small, doesn't matter. Just start. I think it's the baby steps that matter.
Amazing. Excellent. Thank you, TJ. You've given us such a strong message about using recognition. I think not just as a reward, but also as a tool to shape behavior and culture. That focus on meaningful recognition, I think, really resonated. I've been a user of Prezzee for a number of years. I've used it in organizations and used it widely. I've also used it myself as well to share recognition and gifts. I could say it's an amazing platform. I love that you're actually living those values within your culture. So I can recommend anyone to go and check out Prezzee or go follow TJ on LinkedIn and reach out to learn a little bit more. But thank you, TJ, for being involved.
Absolute pleasure, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.